So the second recipe for today is the fruit crumble. So first of all we're going to make the crumble mix. So I've got a nice bowl here, and into the bowl I am going to add, into the bowl I'm going to add, get my scales right. So I'm going to do the scales, but I'm also going to tell you how many spoons it's going to take, because it's a lot easier with a spoon or even a cup. So the recipe says 200 grams. So that's 1 spoon, it's a good 6 spoons, large spoons of flour, and then I'm going to put in a couple of large spoons of oats, a little bit more because I've got little spoons. There we are, nice spoons of oats, and we'll just give that a quick zhuzh around. And then some brown sugar. I like to use a nice soft brown sugar. You'll find you've got sugar in your packs. Again, it will be could be a white sugar, it could be a brown sugar. It doesn't matter. The brown sugar just gives it that more syrupy, nutty taste. Not all the children will like that. And we need 150 grams of sugar. But we're only going to put, the recipe says 150 grams, we only want 100 grams in this bit, which is going to be about 3 large spoons. Yeah, that's 3 large spoons of brown sugar. And I'm going to put a tiny bit, half a teaspoon of cinnamon in that as well. And then we need some butter or margarine spread for this, and that is going to be also 100 grams. So a pot is 250 grams, if I'm right. No, sorry, a pot is 500 grams. So you want 1/5 of this. So the easiest way of doing this is to divide it into 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you just literally take 1/5 of it out and pop that in there. Just need to make sure I've got all of it. There we are. Pop that in there. And this is the bit where you can get the children involved. So you've got all this. And so very gently, I try and do it with one hand if I can, just to keep this hand clean, but I'm sure that little hands and children will want to get all their hands in. And what you're doing is you're rubbing the fat into the dry ingredients, the flour and the oats. It doesn't take very long. This is not a very big bowl. I think I would suggest you have a bigger bowl if you're working with the children, or divide it into 2 if you've got a couple of children so they can all have a go. So you really need to work this fat in so it gets to be nice and crumbly. I'm making a bit of a mess, but that doesn't matter. If it's still a bit sticky, you can add a bit more flour or a bit more oats. Don't add any more margarine there. Doesn't need any more fat. Doesn't take very long, as you can see. It's just a few minutes. The other thing about a granulated type of sugar is it still makes it quite crunchy, which is delightful. Again, nice crumble on a winter's day or an autumn day is lovely. And that's pretty much it for the crumble mix. As you can see, I'm using my fingers, my gloves, and you can still see that there's lots of I think that's quite nice. So you can see that's sort of quite fine, incorporated all the fat. You can still see a bit of the oats, but that's really nice. I'm just going to leave that there. Just quickly wash my hands. I forgot to say, when you're cooking, don't forget, always have nice clean surfaces as best you can. And also remember, first rule in a kitchen is wash your hands, get the children to wash their hands, and keep washing your hands. Keep a nice clean tea towel or some paper towel handy so you can dry quickly. So we've got I'm just going to move that out of the way, that's the crumble. Now we're going to take a bowl. I've got quite a big one here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bit of that margarine that we had before, and I'm going to grease your dish. So the whole dish is going to get greased, just like that. The reason I've got quite a big one is that I want the fruit to cook evenly and quickly. So if I put it in a smaller bowl like this one, the fruit will be really tightly packed and it will take much longer to cook. So I want to put it into an easier pan. So I've got 2 baking apples here, lovely big baking apples. You can use the potato peeler and you can go round and round. It's not quite so easy. Or you can take a little knife and you can peel, or you can do what I'm going to do, which is not going to be ideal for children. I'm going to get a slightly smaller knife, which is a better knife for a child. But again, I would make sure that this little bit you do yourself, because you don't want children's hands slipping and cutting a tendon. So we're just going to take the core out like that. So you cut down in the middle like a V and the core comes out. It's really very simple. She says. That's it. And then I find that sometimes with a cooking apple, this is a smaller knife is better than a big knife, and I'm very carefully going to peel down the apple core, the apple skin, as close to the apple as I can, so I'm not wasting too much of the fruit. Just like that. And to be honest, if there's a little bit of green left, it won't kill you. It'd just be a bit bitter and a little bit tough. Although I'm using cooking apples, you can use eating apples. If you've got any apples left in your garden, or there's local neighbours who've got apples sort of there for picking, use those. So any apple will do. A lot of the greengrocers are giving away, and the fruit supermarkets are giving away fruit for children at the moment. Take a couple of apples and use that. If there are still some blackberries in the on the hedgerows, go blackberry picking during half term. Pick some blackberries, bring them home, wash them under the tap, and pop them in with your crumble. We've got some frozen blackberries today, because that way we know that I've got enough quantity. It doesn't have to be blackberries. You could put raisins in, you could put cranberries in, you could just stick to apple, you could put some apricots in, you could put some tinned fruit in. So if you've got a lot of tinned fruit, so apricots or peaches or pears would be nice. Again, if you've got some fruit lurking in the fridge that you think maybe really need to be used. I wouldn't put bananas in, I wouldn't put oranges in a crumble. The best things are apples, plums, apricots, peaches, and the berries. I'm personally not keen on strawberries in them. It's not the right season for a strawberry and they're very expensive at the moment. But always look in the supermarkets for yellow label fruit and veg as well, because there's nothing wrong with it, it's just slightly out of date and it makes fantastic food at this time of year, whether it's casseroles or curries or soups. Very filling, go a long way and inexpensive. Right, so just get rid of my apple peels. As I said, make sure you have a tidy work area. So we'll get rid of that. And so my apples, I'm going to slice them down like that. You can chop them that way. You can dice them. The thing with them, you cut them in half like that and then go down like that. The thing with cooking apples is they actually go quite fluffy and soft, and they cook down slightly easier than an eating apple. So you can see this is making, so I'm going to layer that into the bottom of my grease dish, just like that. Keep cutting. If you've got a wobbly work surface like chopping board that I have, put a piece of wet paper towel underneath it, or a tea towel or something, to stop moving. I'm not quite sure why this one is moving at the moment. Oops, oh, that's cut. One more. See how quick that is? It's really not very, doesn't take very long. And get the children to cut as well with the smaller knife, and it's safe. But just, as I always say, watch the knives, please. Don't go away and leave them to do it without you being there. So there's lots of apple in there. And now I've got some frozen blueberries, which I'm just going to throw on the top. They've been in my freezer for quite a long time. They look a little bit dried up and sad, but that's fine. And these are frozen blackberries. So it's about 500 grams of frozen fruit, as well as the apples. Just pop those over like that. Now, of course, frozen fruit is quite wet, but I'm still going to add a bit of liquid. So see this pot? I'm going to put half the water in this pot. So I'm filling it up half of the tub, and also that way I can get just any extra bits of juice that are left over. And I'm going to pour that on the fruit. Now I think you'll remember that we had 50 grams of sugar that we hadn't used. So I'm going to just take one spoon of it, and I'm going to just very gradually just shake that all over it, like that. Not a lot, but blackberries can be quite sour. The apples shouldn't be too bad. And I love cinnamon, so I'm going to take a tiny little bit more cinnamon and shake that. So about half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And that is the crumble fruit ready. And then back to our fruit crumble. Take a spoonful of it, handful of it rather, and just gradually put it over to cover the fruit. That's lovely. Just fill the extra spaces. The only problem with doing a big dish like this is that the crumble doesn't quite fit over everything, but it fits enough. There we are. Quick wash your hands again. And there you have your apple and blackberry crumble ready to go in the oven. Now that's going to cook for 170 degrees, gas 5, for about 30 minutes until it's golden brown. It's going to put that in the oven. It's going to go in with the casserole, but the casserole, I'm actually going to put, I'm just going to wait, and I'll cook that later and show you what it's going to look like a bit later on. So here we have the apple crumble that I've just taken out of the oven. it's had its 30 minutes and I'm just having a little poke around. Feels nice. Apple's still quite firm, so I'm going to put that back in the oven. Yeah, the apple's pretty firm still. So that's going to go back in the oven for another 10 or 15 minutes. When it's finished, I'm just going to finish it off with a little dusting of icing sugar, like that, and serve it with some custard or some ice cream or some cream, whatever you like. So that one's going back in the oven, and we'll show you it later.